Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Faithful American channel. This morning we find ourselves back out here in the decoy shop. I think this is only the second video I've ever shot out here in the shop. I got about 20 videos out so far. If some of you may be watching this for the first time, I'd really like you to go check out some of my other videos. I mainly focus on outdoor related topics. I'm a big outdoorsman. It's going to be archery, firearms, different collectibles related to hunting, decoy carving right here in the shop, and then also decoy collections. I've got a pretty decent collection of decoys, and I've got a lot of future videos coming up on individual carvers. And the main thing about my videos, and the real reason I'm doing it, as I speak to on other videos, is my faith is number one in my life, and I really was searching for a way to share the word and share scripture with others, but maybe connect it in a way that is easier for me to talk about, or something that I feel comfortable, passionate talking about, and just try and introduce a couple verses here and there might help you in your day. I know it helps me, and I believe it can help you, so I hope it does. But in the videos, usually towards the end, I'll try and discuss a piece of scripture that maybe has some relevance to, try and tie it into what the video is about. So this video here, I think what I'm going to do is create maybe a little mini series, if you will, on, how to make a duck decoy. Am I a prolific decoy carver? No, I'm not. So I don't make hundreds or thousands of decoys. There's a lot of guys that do. So if you all are tuning into this, or you're really interested on maybe doing it full time, or getting into some competitions on decorative, realistic looking decoys, then this is not going to be your best source of information. But the good news for you is there's a lot of guys out there that do it. And they're not too hard to find on either YouTube or Facebook. Okay. So, yeah, this is more of a video, just an introductory video. And the thought is maybe I'll break up the process in, 6-8 videos, something like that, from the beginning all the way through making a decoy. But this is more for somebody that's just maybe interested in the process. Maybe you like woodworking, or you like wood shops, or maybe you have the idea that, hey, I like duck decoys, and I think it'd be neat to be able to carve one or a few or whatever, kind of get into it. So I think this video would be good for you guys. So before I get going, I'm a small channel. I would appreciate it. It'd help me a lot if you go ahead and subscribe. When I made this video, I took a peek, and I think we're at 61 subscribers. So we cracked the 60 mark. I'm excited about that. I've got about 20 videos. Like I said, they're a variety of topics. I do dive into politics, so unfortunately, I haven't found a way to stay away from that. I'm a little bit of a political junkie, and anyway, sometimes I feel passionate. So if you look at my channel and you see me sitting in a leather chair, and maybe that's not for you, think you might get your feelings hurt, or you just don't want to listen to politics, I understand. Maybe you veer away from those videos. Okay, but today we're going to talk about carving duck decoys. But if you could, maybe subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell, and all that stuff. Okay, enough of that. What we got here is just your basic decoy. This is a mallard decoy. When I look at this one, I kind of smile. I mean, it's a special decoy for me. It's the third decoy I ever made, and it's the first one that I painted. So this paint job is by no means realistic at all. You know what I mean? It's pretty much straight lines, sectional, just, having no idea what you're doing, and just trying to, my goal, and it's still really my goal, is if I take this and stick it out there and I ask somebody, hey, what is this? If they say, looks like a duck, that's all I'm going for, right? So that's a win. So anyway, this is the first one I painted. I'll be honest with you, the majority of my decoys I don't paint for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm not very good at it, but that's not a good excuse. You'll get better the more you do, so you're not going to be good at anything when you first start. But my real hang up is I just love wood grain. I just love, how natural wood looks. So every time I end up carving a decoy, it's got a it's got a knot over here, or a wavy wood pattern, or maybe it's dark and then light, and it's just, I look at it and I say it's just a shame to cover that up with paint. So most of the time I just keep mine natural and put a clear coat on top of them. All right, so that's going to be the goal at the end of this. You can make something that looks similar to that decoy. So not sure if you can see my breath. It's floating towards the camera there. I don't know if you pick it up or not. I think it's 22 degrees here in Tennessee. So it's a chilly morning, but it's a pretty morning outside, and it just happens to be my birthday. So I'm 55 today, and life is flying by, no doubt about it. It's going very fast. And it would have been a good day to stay inside and be lazy, but I thought, it'd be more fun to make a video. So let's start talking about it. What I want to do is, and hopefully the lighting's okay, we're just going to be in this part of the shop today. The first step to making a decoy is, when I first got going, what is your design going to be? What is your design going to be? And the most important thing is, there's guys out there that carve, they carve full-size decoys. There's people out there that carve what you call miniature decoys, 3/4, half-size, whatever. But the main thing is, it has to be proportionate, right? So it's real easy. It's like a lot of things. If you look at it, and that head is disproportionate to the body, or vice versa, whatever, If they're disproportionate to each other, then it doesn't look right. And you can pick it up like this, right? So what did I do? How did I get started? So, I had started collecting decoys before I started carving. So I had several decoys, and what I did was I just measured, how long is the decoy, how wide is the decoy, how tall from the bottom to the top of the body is it, the head dimension from the tip of the bill to the back of the head, from the bottom of the neck to the head. So I just took, a variety of measurements and got kind of a ballpark, on the right dimensions for a decoy. Then I also studied just photography of ducks. I mean, that's a real good way to do it. So you just go, like I can go right down the road here and to Harrison Bay State Park, and they've got ducks in the water all the time. So you can, feed the ducks, take a camera, take a bunch of pictures, and do the same thing, print them out, take some dimensions of the ducks. You just want to make sure you got the right size, right? In relation, even the width, right? The width of the head, how wide is the head? And every carver is a little bit different. And that's the point, right? You want to make your own decoy. You don't want to copy somebody else's, but again, it's got to be proportionate. So, once I did that, I'll just show you. Here's my, I guess when I drew this pattern was March 14th of 2021, but you can see, that's my pattern. And I think it says it's 13.5 inches long, 5.5 inches wide, and 3.5 inches tall. Okay, so that's the basic dimensions of my mallard. And then I did the same thing for a canvasback, same thing for pintail, and so on and so on, right? You got to do, each species going to be a little bit different. None of them are the same. Okay, so first step is draw out your design. Once you've got this, then you need to be able to scale that. So what I did was I just scanned it onto a computer, and then I made the print job exactly 13.5 inches wide and so forth, right? And then print it off. Where's it at? Here. Okay, I already had it down. You take that piece of paper, and I used, just something that's sturdy enough, right? So this is 1/4 inch, some 1/4 inch board. You lay out your design, and then you just cut it out. So there's the side profile. Cut that out on a bandsaw. Use a little, like a little spindle sander is what I use, just to smooth it out and finalize the design. So that's the side profile. Then this is half of the top, right? You only need one half because you can just flip it, you know. So what you do is your center line is right here, of course. You trace that out, you flip it over on your center line, trace the other side out, and then you've got your top view looking down of what your pattern's going to be. And you got to do the same thing for the head. So, you know, here's my mallard head. And then I just drill these holes so I can, you know, hang them back here on that board. But there's your design. Same thing, cut it out on a bandsaw and just use a spindle sander to carve it out. And then what I do is I've got a flat bottom decoy, right? So, you know what that means is, just like what it says, right? The bottom of my decoys are flat. So, you know, you got to decide what type of shape do you want out of your decoy. Some people make them just round all the way around, and then they have a weight in the bottom, or, you know, to keep them floating right if you're going to use them for hunting. I haven't used any of mine for hunting yet. Mine have been more, you know, just to put them on the mantel place, stick them in the house, give them as a gift, something like that, just to look at. I've got them all over my house, but don't do a lot of duck hunting here in the region of Tennessee that I'm in. There's not a lot of ducks here. So if you want to duck hunt, you got to drive at least 5 hours to get on ducks. Maybe not 5 hours, but you got to drive a distance. So anyway, mine's a flat bottom decoy. So then what I do is, for each decoy, obviously it's different, like I mentioned. So the length is different, the width is different, the height is different. So your base is going to be different. And all I did was go on the computer again, and you just, you know, you're working in Word or Excel, and you just get the shape and you make an oval, and you just play with that oval until it's the right length and the right width, and it works. And then it looks like this. And then that's what I lay here on the bottom and trace it out. And then what that does, it helps me when I go to be using my draw knife, then I know kind of where to stop. It gives me a reference point as I round the decoy. That's the key. Okay. You can see this one's drying out. It's cracked on the bottom. Huh. But it's 4 years old. So, okay. So that's the important, I mean, these are critical to do this the right way, because this is your template, right? This is what you're going to use for years and years and years. You know, I'm not going to make 100 different types of mallard. I'm going to make traditionally one mallard. You know, I don't do this for a business. Like I said, it's just a hobby. So, you know, you just got to make a good template. And then once you've got that template, then what you're going to do is, hopefully this lighting's okay. It looks a little bit dark, but maybe I'll do one as an example. You're going to take, the shop's a mess, but it's a shop. So what you do is you take this, and you've got a block of wood, right? So I go ahead and, you know, it just depends what the design of your duck's going to be. These are 4x6 pieces of pine. I've had these for about 4 or 5 years. They've just been laying out here drying. I keep them up in the top and the bottom of this shed here, and it's white pine. So you just get you a block that accommodates whatever your design is. Like Pat Gregory, you know, the guy that I talked about before, my mentor, I think he uses like a 3x8. So his decoys are much wider and not as tall. But he's a big gunning decoy guy. I mean, he uses his decoys to work. You know, they're not just decorative. He makes them to be used as a tool and to hunt with. And I think that just, the buoyancy is better on his design than mine. All right, so we're going to take this. We put it on the side. We go ahead and flush up the bottom. I'll try and turn a little bit so you're not staring at my back. You make sure now that, you know, your wood, when you cut all the way through, is going to have enough size, or you're going to have enough wood there to carry your design. Okay. And then you just trace it. You take your pencil. I use a pencil. Use a marker, use a pen, whatever you want to use. And then you just trace that outline, okay? Trace that outline. Just go ahead and take your time, make sure it's nice and dark, depending on your lighting. When you go to the bandsaw, it'll help you out. So, you know, you've got this. Here's your front, right? Here's the chest of the decoy. Here's the little flat shelf where your head's gonna be mounted or glued, screwed later. Here's your body, goes down to the tail, and then down here. So that's the side profile of your decoy, okay? And then what you do is, and be careful here because I screwed this up a couple times early on. When you do the top profile, make sure you double check what side the head's on so you don't trace it the wrong way, because I have done that before. So what I do is, you got to be symmetric on the top. So I'll take a ruler here, and what I do is, try not to turn my back to you. What I do is just measure it. Again, it's about a 4x6, but it's not perfect. So I split the difference. We're gonna do, I'll do 2 15/16 for a center line. And again, 2 15/16. And then just make me a good center line so I can use that for the top portion. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right. So now that I got that center line, my head's on this side here. Okay. I make sure my center line edge is right on there, and then I trace half of the top profile, okay? So in the end, that's what you're gonna have, or not the end, I gotta do one more side, but you can see I made that center line on the wood just so I'm in the center here, and I don't run out of wood on either side, right? So I center this, and then I start with the head and come down here to the tail, right? So, you know, it's upside down, but it doesn't matter. There's the head side, and there's the top profile. So what I need to do is mirror that. Do the same thing on the other side. This is where you get to find out how well your 4x6s are cut, because a lot of times, you know, you might not quite have enough space. You might think it's a 4x6, but you gotta be a little bit careful about that. All right. Then I just put the other side on there. And then there you go. So this is all that you need, right? So we've made a drawing, we've made our design, we've put it out on paper, we transferred it to wood, 1/4 inch, we cut it out on a bandsaw, sanded her down, made her smooth, made a good template. Then you transfer that template to here. There's your side view, there's your top view, and then that's what you need to take to the bandsaw. Next step would be go to the bandsaw and cut it out. We're not going to get into that step today, but I will show you what that looks like. So when you take what I just showed you to the bandsaw and you cut it out, you'll have a piece of wood. There's your side profile, and there's your top profile. Okay? And then you can see I've already traced the base. Okay, so at least that was video 1, right? How to make a design, create a template, get a block of wood, trace it out, and get it ready for your bandsaw. I think that's enough for video 1, okay? So let's go ahead and get into a piece of scripture here. You know, I mentioned earlier that it was my birthday and that time is flying. And it's true. It seems like some of the days seem long, but the weeks and the months and the years just really get away from you. So we're just so caught up in everything in the world on a day-to-day basis. So let's take a look at 2 Corinthians, a letter from Paul here. 2 Corinthians 4:18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. It's true. The things which are seen are temporal, meaning temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. And that's the truth. You know, we can get caught up in our lives on a day-to-day basis, and we have so many things to either be distracted about or worried about or, you know, have fear, anxiety. And if we let that overwhelm us and take our total attention, then we're always living in the now. We're not thinking about the future. And what's important about the future is after this world, right? This world is going to go, I mean, our time here on earth is going to be like this. And you know, I had a birthday today, but, you know, you're not guaranteed another birthday, another day, another week, certainly maybe not another year. So we could be gone at any time. So we need to have that in mind. It needs to be top of mind. And I hope that it's a priority for you or that you make it a priority. And spend more time in the Word. If you're saved, that's great. But we need to be in the Word every day and really have this drive in our life. And that'll help us with all the stresses that the world throws at us each day. And if you're not saved, then hopefully you hear this message and something in it, you know, makes you consider it and think about it and go back, maybe look at a Bible and read some scripture, because I know it can help you in your life. So again, don't be caught up in everything of the moment. We have to live in the moment. There's no way we can avoid it. We can't just ignore it, but we can't have all of our focus on the day-to-day. Let's think a little bit further out. Let's think eternity, okay? And we want to spend eternity with Jesus Christ. So appreciate you watching this video. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time back here in the Decoy shop.